I'd like to call this meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission to order. For the record, today's date is May the 22nd, 2023. My name is Richard Parker. I'm the chair for P&Z and would like to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. I ask you to turn off all electronic devices before the meeting begins. Ryan, check your device.
Is this okay? My agenda. Okay.
I'll leave mine in the car. This is a public meeting and is being recorded. If you want to speak to any matter that comes before us tonight, you will be given a chance. Elected officials appoint this commission, which has 6 regular members and 3 alternates. The commission is an advisory board to the Burlington City Council, and we only make recommendations to our city officials. The city council makes all zoning decisions and has the final authority to rezone property. 5 members make up a quorum. So Conrad, would you have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Parker,
Present.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick, who's absent.
Absent, yep.
Commissioner Beasley, present. Commissioner Black is absent. Commissioner Roan,
Present.
Commissioner Zach Nelson,
Present.
and Commissioner Raynor.
Present.
And Commissioner Wrights and Gambles are absent. We do have a quorum, Chair Parker, with 5 members present.
Thank you. First order of business is a motion to approve the minutes for April 24th, 2023.
So moved.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor to approve the minutes, say aye. Any opposed? Now, before we start the meeting, does anyone have a conflict of interest on the agenda item tonight?
No.
No? Okay. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
You may make your presentation. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Chair Parker. Got to hand these out. I've got a couple of visuals for you all.
Okay.
They're conceptual architectural elevations project. So if you're looking at the site plan from the top, you can refer to these elevations for what you're going to see from the ground as an illustrative. These are not final in any sense of the word. Good evening, Commission members. My name is Ryan Moffitt. I'm a lawyer at the Marin Law Firm. We are located at 522 South Lexington Avenue here in Burlington. It's my privilege this evening to be before you representing Black & Properties and Pickett Mill LLC, who are the owners of the property that's the subject of this request. Again, it's identified as parcel number 136857 on East Webb Avenue between Everett Street, Johnson Street, and East Davis Street, there to the southwest. This has been a particularly exciting project, one that has been long in the works for many good reasons, and part of that has produced the site plan that is part of the plan development application that is in your plan materials. I want to start out by introducing Hugh Scheidel and Herb Coleman. They are the principals of Pickett Mill LLC and Clacton Properties. They are also the principals responsible for the May Hosiery lofts that our city has enjoyed and that continue to enjoy great success. And so we're excited to have their interest return to Burlington in the Pickett Mill building. Mr. Coleman and Mr. Scheidel have been working with Adam Carroll at the Timmons Group and Sarah McInerney with Park Architects out of Richmond, and have really worked extremely involved. As I stated, when you're dealing with a building that was built in 1906 to start with and for extremely different purposes, and then was added on to over the next several decades, you are faced with a few constraints when you decide that you're going to turn it into a multifamily housing project. And so staff has been particularly attentive and available to answer our questions and guide the design team to what we have today and ultimately their recommendation. And of course, we're at Historic Preservation Commission a couple of weeks ago with the same request and asking for their blessing on the zoning request as well. So that's the recent history. What you may not know is that Pickett Mill LLC owns the property. They have once again invested in the city of Burlington. They purchased the property in September of 2021 from the Harris family, who operated their textile business out of the building up until that point. So this structure has served the city from an economic standpoint for over 100 years, and our hope is to continue to allow it to do that in a new and exciting way for the East Davis Street Historic District, for downtown, and for the city as a whole. They bought it in 2021. We spent all of last year really in the pre-TRC phase. Back and forth with staff, developing the site plan. It went through 4 formal TRC reviews before receiving pre-TRC approval, which allowed us to move into the hearing phase with Historic Preservation Commission earlier this month, and their unanimous 7-0, I believe, was the vote, recommendation to approve the plan development request. The property sits on about 2.7 acres. It's currently zoned high density or heavy industrial and general business, and of course this zoning request is for a plan development. It's going to be, or it's requested to be a multifamily housing, multifamily residential project, and proposes 90 units. That's about 33.5 units an acre from a density calculation standpoint. Your packet should contain the list of terms and conditions that we've attached to that. I won't go through every one of those, but I do want to highlight a number of these that the project has incorporated, which are either not requirements under the Unified Development Ordinance or exceed the minimum standards. Those would include 98 on-site vehicle parking spaces, which will also include an electronic vehicle charging station. The applicants have agreed to stripe the city streets around Johnson and Everett streets for parking, for on-street parking. There will be at least 8 bicycle parking spaces provided. The parking lot plantings will exceed the minimum caliper of trunk size. The project's going to have a private common area with amenities that will include a clubhouse, fitness center, an exterior lounge area, pool, yard games, and a grilling garden with fire pits. There will also be off-site amenities along East Davis Street, which will include a picnic area with planters and a dog park with seating. And the project will maintain those off-site, and those are adjacent to the site. You can see them on the site plan, but just along where the sidewalk on East Davis Street is where those will be located. Energy Star certified central air conditioning system. A number of these are sustainability driven, and part of the sustainability factors are what help us achieve calculation that we get. But as you can imagine, older buildings are not prone to energy efficiency. So we're trying to take advantage of those opportunities where we can. White roofing materials, minimum reflectivity rating of 60%. You'll notice on the elevations the number of windows in the building. If you drive by today, you won't see that. Most of the windows from around the entirety of the building have been bricked in. So those will be reopened and will serve as functional windows. Tankless on-demand hot water systems, just to name a few. This is an exciting project for the city of Burlington because of what this building is. It really, you can look at any historic building that's been around for 100 years in the city and say, well, this really tells the story of our community, of our city. And you can tell that particular property story, but this building was constructed in 1906, which is 13 years after the city was incorporated, and it served as the largest textile manufacturing company in the city through the 1920s. So we look at this as one of the cornerstones of our city's economy, and where we've come since that time couldn't have happened without what we had in the Aurora Cotton Mill facility. And like I noted earlier, for over 100 years, up until 2021, it continued that textile manufacturing legacy and continued to operate when many companies and many textile concerns went away a long time ago. This building hasn't slowed down. So as soon as it changed hands, Mr. Scheidel and Mr. Coleman got right to work in making sure that it continued to serve this community and to serve it in a good way and to preserve a facility that tells such a long and really important story for the city. So why are we requesting a planned development and not just a multifamily zoning to make apartments out of an old textile building? The city, the UDO committee, when they adopted the new UDO, city council, planning board, I think exercised great foresight in implementing this planned development scheme, this zoning scheme. It wasn't in the old ordinance from what I recall, or if it was nothing like what we have here today. And that was important because it recognizes we have properties like this and we want to find ways to use them. And we have other unique properties in the city. And the purpose of that ordinance was to encourage, and I'm going to read it right from the ordinance itself, to encourage innovative land planning, site design concepts, which support a high quality of life, achieve a high quality of development, environmental sensitivity, energy efficiency, and other city goals and objectives. A number of those objectives include allowing greater freedom in providing a well-integrated mix of residential and non-residential land uses in the same development, including a mix of housing types, lot sizes, and densities, creating a system of incentives for redevelopment and infill in order to revitalize the downtown area, and promoting a vibrant public realm in the lands around downtown by placing increased emphasis on ground floor uses, pedestrian-oriented building facade design, intensive use of sidewalks, establishment of public gathering areas. Just to name a few of those objectives that I think this project speaks particularly well to. What the planned development ordinance also does is allows flexibility in those projects because they do take advantage of some of those stated objectives. when you're dealing with a property built in 1906 to try to turn it into multifamily residential use, you have a few constraints. The other thing that this property and this project, in addition to the site-specific zoning request and entitlements that it's in need of to go through, it will also go back before the Historic Preservation Commission post-zoning approval for a certificate of appropriateness. So not only does it have to meet the UDO zoning standards, it has to meet the new historic overlay district standards. On top of that, it's a federal historic preservation tax incentive program project. So this site plan has been reviewed by the North Carolina State Historic Preservation Office, and it's also been reviewed by the Federal National Park Service. So there's been a lot of moving parts to this and a lot of input on the site plan that we have before you today. I don't think it can get much better. And on top of that, it fits squarely within the East Davis Historic District redevelopment objectives that the comprehensive land use plan spells out. It is an appropriate use considering the existing residential, the existing commercial in that area, and what the future plan calls for in that area. There's no better, more efficient, optimal use of the Pickett Mill building that I can possibly see. It's, our community is fortunate that the Clackett Group has taken an interest in the history that we have in our buildings here, especially in downtown. I'm excited to see what it does for East Davis Street, just that commercial corridor there, the storefronts and the houses. I think it will really bring that neighborhood back to life, which is a really cool neck of our downtown. And it's just exciting to see what this will be with your support, and I hope that we have it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the proposal. Thank you for considering it.
Does anybody have any initial questions for Mr. Moffitt? I got a couple. These windows, it sure is a lot of glass. Are these windows, will they be double pane or single pane?
Well, a lot of the historic windows exist, and so the Park Service requires us to refurbish existing historic windows where we can. So we're thinking that probably 90% of them will be single pane because we have to save the historic windows.
Right, okay. Well, I wondered about that. And then the other thing that strikes me looking at this is I'm not seeing many fire escape doors. If this building catches on fire, where do these guys, how do they get out? There's no doors.
It will have every.
Yeah, there are probably half a dozen exit. You don't have the floor plans. The floor plans are really what you ought to be looking at. We have detailed floor plans, and so that's.
Wouldn't the elevation show the
Yeah, those
doorways?
are just elevate.
Are there doors?
Yeah, you're not gonna see the doors on that.
All I'm seeing is windows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And all I'm seeing here is window. There's no doors anywhere.
those just show you what the building's gonna look like. It's not.
There's
one here.
That's a door
There's
there.
one there.
That's the main entrance right there, I believe. And then in the courtyard, you probably got 2 or 3 entry points. So you've got probably 1 entry point on, except for on the main street.
And is there a requirement for fire exits? How many feet apart do they have to be?
For clarification, Chair Parker, and members of the commission, the provided building elevations and any floor plan discussion is not necessarily part of this plan development rezoning application. But for fire, any fire-related questions, I'm sure the Burlington Fire Department will, and the building code will all come into play here. But, these building elevations are really just for a reference, I believe, for the applicant to give you all an idea of what the project will look, but they will be going back to get a certificate of a major certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission before any work is done to the building, because the building was designated a local landmark. So for them to get any kind of work on the building itself, they're gonna go back to the HPC. But at this time, this is just a rezoning for the plan development, but I mean,
This
Yeah.
was given to us for consideration,
no, this is not a part of the application.
but the lawyer gave it to us.
Correct, so the lawyers
It's,
gave
it's
it,
illustrative, it's not final,
Okay.
yeah,
so
this really shouldn't be a part of the review application, but
if
it's a
these
matter,
are,
it's a
if
matter
these don't
to,
assist you all, I
Yeah.
won't use them, but it's an illustration.
it's meant to be a concept to illustrate the windows, because right now all
Yeah,
the windows
it's
are
bricked in.
bricked in.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions for the applicant tonight?
I have a question.
Yes,
I'm not
ma'am.
sure if it's applicable now, because I'm not quite sure if I understand what is and what isn't. But it looks like 61 of the 90 apartments will be one bedroom, one bath. And so that sounds like your target group might be retired young people or whatever, people without kids, is that correct?
Repeat what you said. 61 are one bedrooms and the rest are two
So I'm
bedrooms.
curious what that means about who you're targeting, and if you have any general price ranges that you're thinking of?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but
I'm sorry, it's 61 of 90 are one bedroom, one bathroom. So I presume that you have a target audience that you're looking for to sell to, and I'm curious what that is. Is it young people, people commuting out of town, older people, or all of the
I'd
above?
say it's a mix of everybody. I mean, what we've learned at May Hosiery is people, there's a higher demand for one bedrooms than there is for two bedrooms. And so, and it's typically, you know, a younger professional market with some exceptions for, you know, people like me who are empty nesters that want to live back downtown. And so we try to sprinkle in some really fabulous two-bedroom units throughout like at May Hosiery, we have 2 or 3 fantastic twos, and it's rented by people like us, right? But the vast majority of people that walk through the door are asking for one bedrooms. By far, probably, would you say 4 or 5 to 1, I'd say. So we're trying to understand the market and what the market is, you know, desiring, and that's why we designed it that way.
And these will be for sale, not for rent, right?
They're for rent.
Oh, they're for rent?
They're for rent,
Oh,
yeah. Market rate, they're not affordable, so they'll be market rate apartments.
what does that mean in Burlington these days? You know, it's high.
What's the rental price?
When you say market rate for a one bedroom in a sort of
Do
a
you-
trendy
do you-
kind of place downtown?
Probably 165 to 170 a foot, so a 500 square foot unit might rent for 900 a month or 1,000 a month. The twos are probably 1,500. So it's at the higher end of the local marketplace.
I work in Durham, and that's low.
Yeah, it's local.
Get a lot,
Low for Durham. Well, that's why we want to bring people to Burlington.
Yeah.
Can we get your names on for the record, just so our minutes are, are this Mr. Coleman and Mr. Scheidel? Okay. Thank you.
But also, the building will have heavy amenities. So it'll have workout facilities and a swimming pool and fire pits and a clubhouse and charging stations, and it'll have, you know, more amenities than May Hosiery has. And that, I don't know if you've been in that project, but that project turned out fabulous. We were there today, and I'd forgotten how great it was. It's a magnificent project. Beautiful rooftop deck with a grilling area and fire pit on the gas fire pit on the roof. You should go check it out for those of you that had not been over there. But the thing about this building, I think, not to go off it, is it's a unique building, really unique. May Hosiery was a concrete, steel utilitarian, not real exciting, but it's a beautiful building. This is a one-of-a-kind mill. It's one of the coolest mills I've ever been in, and we've done 8 or 10 of them in North Carolina now, and South Carolina, and probably, a dozen of them in buildings in Virginia. This is one of the most unusual textile mills I've been in, because it was built in phases. And so one section of it will be an early 1900s design, and then another section was added on, and another section was added onto that, and it almost encircled itself in a big donut. It just kept growing, and so we're going to put the pool and all the amenities in the courtyard, and you'll have this building wrapped around it, and it's got tremendous character in it. And was it Mr. Harris owned it? He did an incredible job of maintaining this building. It's immaculate inside. It's beautiful. The floors are intact. There's not much water damage to the building, which you see in a lot of old textile mills. They go fast when the roof goes. He did a really fine job of keeping this building in good shape, and so it's going to be a gem when it's done.
I'm wondering, since the rent is at the high end, do you or does the planning board have any ideas about dislocation of the people who live in the surrounding areas? Because the rent will be higher, and that might bring up the rents everywhere else, but the people who are living there, I don't know that you can answer that, but zoning people.
We have not done a market analysis, nor has the applicant, I'm sure, but I think our hope is that the revitalization of this building will serve as a catalyst to that community and help drive improvements, to that there's a commercial corridor right in vicinity of that, and so we're hopeful that with some activity and some residents in that area, that it'll spur additional investment to the area.
I think that often happens, is my impression, but I'm wondering, the people who live there, what's their income level and, or rent level in the surrounding areas? Is there a big disparity between what this will be and what that is? We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know the answer to that, in terms of, and there isn't going to be any property owners or residents displaced as a result of this, this application, and I think the goal for the applicant, I don't want to speak for them, but is to have, a variety of different, age groups and a variety of residents. I don't know that you're targeted just to an end user, although, again, I don't want to speak for you guys.
I think it's right, we get a range, but when you build something that's 600 feet, you almost necessarily exclude someone that needs 1,500 feet. So, but it turns out the demand is in that, as Herb mentioned, for the one-bedroom apartments. That's what just get overwhelming demand.
Speaking of the neighborhood, did you have a neighborhood meeting?
We did not have a neighborhood meeting. We did neighborhood outreach. We sent letters to everyone in the vicinity outlined there. Had a couple of callbacks just inquiring about, well, really one callback inquiring what it was going to be, and no object. Frankly, the response was, well, it will draw people. And it was a business owner property, one of the business property, commercial properties within that radius.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you have one charging station that will service 2 vehicles. Is there potential to expand the number of charging stations in the town?
Certainly.
Any other questions?
Timeline and completion before you have first move in? After approvals, obviously.
That's the $64 million question. We need to get all the approvals in place, and then we need to take the project to the financial community. And who knows what the banks are gonna think, and who knows what they'll be thinking in 6 months. So, but we wanna get going. 20 months.
Have you had any feedback from the Harris family on the plan?
We haven't, he was very supportive of the landmark designation, and we know has been following us, but I haven't talked to him in some time. It's a good idea, we should reach out to him.
For the staff now, was there any phone calls concerning this property? This rezoning?
Yeah, Chair Parker and Commission members, we do not receive inquiries or any comments necessarily in support or against this project.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question? You said that they kept the building going and were producing there longer than most. I presume that there's some ecological studies that have been done, when there was a mill in there,
Environmental studies?
environmentally, yeah.
Was, we did the phase 1 and phase 2 work.
Do you know if plaids were made there when it was Aurora?
Gingham.
Gingham?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I was just wondering if a little more elaboration on the windows. You said you described them as brick then, and of course, I pass there all the time, but I'm thinking of them as boarded. But you said they were still there so that you're going to be able to preserve them.
We believe they're sandwiched between brick on both sides, so that when we remove the brick, we're gonna find something that looks like a window. And we're charged by the National Park Service to repair those where possible.
Whereas at St. Louisbury, they weren't there. And so we were able to go in and put insulated windows, new aluminum, copper windows in there that the Park Service approved, and the North Carolina Preservation. But when they're there, you've gotta, if you can, you've gotta save them.
And y'all done
And
some-
you're not allowed to use insulated glass on, on historic windows typically. Other states, Virginia is a little more lenient, North Carolina is not so lenient on that.
And have you done some sampling is why you expect that you're gonna find, I think you said 90%?
We're just guessing more than sampling.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Any other questions before we ask for the staff's recommendation? Jamie, what's your recommendation?
The staff is recommending the rezoning request consistent with the comprehensive plan. There's a section in the comp plan, section 4 land use, that calls for this area to be traditional residential, so it's consistent with that. There's also other sections of the comp plan that deal with celebrating Burlington's unique and historic and local character. That's section 2, character and identity goal 1. Recommendation 1, encourage the preservation and continued use of historic buildings, districts, landmarks, and landscapes. Recommendation 2, support the historic rehabilitation efforts of private property owners. So these are, staff feels that this rezoning request is consistent with all of those different goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
I would recommend approval consistent with option 1 in your consistency statement sheet.
Mr. Chairman,
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Go ahead.
I make a motion to recommend approval of the request to rezone property from heavy industrial HI and general business GB to planned development PD. The property is located on a block bounded by East Webb Avenue, Johnston Street, East Davis Street, and Everett Street, addressed as 0 East Webb Avenue and consisting of Alamance County Tax Identification Number 136857, file number TRCPD-22-001. The motion is based upon the consistency of the proposed rezoning with the comprehensive plan in that the future land use map in section 4, land use of the comprehensive plan, calls for this area to have traditional residential uses. Section 2, character and identity goal 01, calls to celebrate Burlington's unique history and local character. Section 2, Character and Identity Goal 01, Recommendation 1 calls to encourage the preservation and continued use of historic buildings, districts, landmarks, and landscapes. Section 2, Character and Identity Goal 01, Recommendation 2 calls to support the historic rehabilitation efforts of private property owners. The request is compatible with the adjacent commercial and residential uses. This action is reasonable and in the public interest in that the comprehensive plan calls for commercial and residential uses in the area, and the request is compatible with the existing zoning and land uses in the area.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You want to do a roll call, Mr. Pimento?
Yes, sir. Let's do a roll call. It's Commissioner Parker,
Approved.
Commissioner Beasley,
Approved.
Commissioner Roan,
Approved.
Commissioner Rayner,
Approved.
Commissioner Zach Nelson.
Approved.
Motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Looking forward to it.
You are too.
We'll see you at the groundbreaking.
Okay, send us an invitation.
You too, thank you. Thank you.
Is there any other business to come before the commission tonight? Any new business?
There's John and Morgan are actively recruiting for boards and commissions. So if you all are looking to kind of renew your position, I don't think anyone here is up for a renewal, but just if you have any other friends that you might know that want to serve on a board or commission, send them an email, let them apply. That way we can get some.
Two positions.
We have 2 positions. Yes, so we've got,
Who's
as far as members that are here tonight,
Oh.
I think Mr. Kirkpatrick is up for reappointment. So I'll just double check with him to make sure he resubmits his application. And I think we might have an ETJ alternate. I think we talked about you maybe becoming ETJ full member, and then we're seeing if there's another city alternate that can fill in the upcoming vacancy for that position too, for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We've got other boards and commissions. You can only serve on one. So if you want to do a board of adjustment, you got to pick and choose. But we got the Historic Preservation Commission, not necessarily recruited right this year, but in the future. So just thank you all for your service and spread the word for other boards and commissions that the city offers. Other than that, there is no more updates.
I'm aging out, you know. I've been on this a long time. I was on this when you were in high school. Our next meeting, June the 26th, if we have any business. So, in the summertime, we're sometimes a little slow, but maybe we'll have a couple of juicy ones. Get some citizens in here fussing. Yeah, I love that. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Now,
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.